Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, today we're back on the 65 Chevelle here, and we're going to be doing one of the most nerve-wracking jobs of this whole project on this car, and that's cutting holes in the dash for the AC vents. So we're going to actually be using reproduction factory AC vents off the 65 Chevelle, and the biggest problem with those is you can find them, they're unpainted, but you can't find the chrome deflector ball that goes inside. They're not listed, they're unavailable. So I have a solution for that too. So let's just jump over the bench and I'll show you what I got going on there. And we gotta make a game plan to cut these holes and not screw up. All right, so 65 Chevelles with air conditioning were very, very rare. So finding the parts for it is almost impossible. But somebody's making reproduction parts. I'll put the link in my description, the video description of where these were purchased. And several companies sell them. I think there's just one person making them. But they're very nicely made. They have the hole for the vent, the air control valve in the back, if you can locate one of those. But we're not going to be using that because it's going to be an AC car only, and I think this was part of the Astro vent portion of it. So we're going to actually trim that little piece off right there, and I'm going to sand it smooth, and we won't be using that part. They're going to get painted black, so it's not a big deal. But like I said, I'll put a link in the description where these were purchased. But the biggest problem with these is nobody lists a chrome deflector ball for this size vent. So luckily, I happen to know a lot about 67 GTOs. I have a couple. And so I grabbed the balls off mine and I tested it, and it fits in there perfectly. So, and it's just, it was just dumb luck, I guess. So otherwise we would have had to buy a bunch of different GM balls from around that era, and they just keep trying to fit them because nobody puts, really, the dimensions so you can figure it out. But a 67 GTO, and these are brand new. These are from Ames Performance Engineering, and I'll also put a link in the description where to get these. So if you want to put AC in your 65 Chevelle, you can buy these and then buy these from Ames Performance Engineering, and you're set. Now the piece that goes back behind here that connects this and pushes and holds the ball up, that is also available from Ames Performance Engineering off the 67 GTO. It's got a 3-inch diameter, and those are on order, so we're going to be test fitting those. And those actually hold, and then the screws hold that ball up in there with the felt to make sure the balls don't, flop around and they stay nice and stiff. Then you put your AC line on here. In this case, it'll be from Vintage Air AC line. So that's the plan on that. So the next problem is how do you cut the hole? This is a funky shape. So luckily, doing all the research on all this to figure out how to make this happen and look as factory as possible, the owner and I personally didn't want to use Vintage Air, the log that goes underneath, or the round vents. The dash really slopes off, and the vents would have been pointing down, and it just wouldn't have looked right. So, and he didn't want to have the aftermarket ones you just screw up underneath the dash. That's not the look he's going for. So we're trying to make this thing look as factory as possible. So as doing all this research, I found a forum where they were discussing this very thing, and luckily one of the people on the forum was nice enough to go to his car that he was working on, and what he did was he laid a piece of paper over the dash hole, and then looks like he spray painted the shape. So I don't know if that's showing up on camera very well, but here's the edge of the dash. This is where the dash cluster goes, and then this is the actual opening. And if you guys can see that, it's kind of a funky shaped opening. Here it is where I've already cut it out. So it's kind of a pear shaped to get this to fit in there. So this actually, the way he did it, so it's labeled driver side faces dash, so this will turn around and go like that, and then this vent will actually fit in just like this, just like that. So, so basically I have templates to lay up on the dash to mark to cut the hole, but these were just a JPEG off the internet. and printed on 8.5 by 11. So I wasn't too sure that the scale was correct. And these holes actually come out a little small, but I think once they're pulled over the dash, that they're going to come out to the right size. But to confirm that, I also found pictures, I think possibly on the same forum, and I'll put a link in the description to that forum. It's super helpful. These guys are so helpful on those forums. I just took the pictures. I didn't even log in and talk to them at all. It's kind of an older thread. But here's a picture of where somebody has actually cut the pieces off an old 65 Chevelle dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this and take some critical measurements, because I need to know where to hold that template exactly to cut this hole, because the way these are shaped, it has to fit on that part that rolls over perfectly. So I want to make sure that I'm a triple check and make sure I got these at the right height and left to right. So, but that's the plan. So, and I'll put all this information in the link to the description. And so if you guys want to do a 65 Chevelle air conditioning install, in this case we're doing vintage air, but it's really nice to have the correct looking vents, and these are the correct vents. Now I will be trimming that little knob off right there, so it's not going to be technically, you know, perfect. It's not going to be a concourse car or you know, perfect restoration. So these are the outer vents. Now the center vent is going to go in just above the controls, and those aren't really available either, but that's going to be another video where I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. I've got a part on order, and when it shows up, I'll show you guys how we're going to handle that. So let's jump over to the car, and I'll show you kind of the challenges we're facing on getting these holes cut exactly right. Okay, the vents go right here, right in the corner. I mean, this slopes off pretty sharp right here, so that that reproduction vent housing or bezel goes right here. And to get to this, to cut this out and do it right, the dash has to come out. Now, it's getting Dakota gauges anyway, so it needed to come out. Not to mention, I need to restore a lot of the wiring underneath and repair it. There was some creative wiring in here. There's a picture of everything I cut out. I took 2 or 3 hours to cut all that out. There was a alarm. I'm assuming it didn't work. There was no mention of the alarm when the car was purchased. And there was a lot of creative, there was kind of like a starter interrupt, a custom homemade starter interrupt with a lot of wires and hidden switches and buttons and the whole thing. And they kind of wired that into the factory harness. So I had to take my time, 2 or 3 hours, to trace down where all these wires were connected, why they were connected, and so I could cut them out and I can restore and repair the factory wiring harness so it's correct and safe. So the dash needs to come out before we can you know, start cutting these holes, but this vent goes right here and it wraps right around this, and you kind of have to wrap it around. But as like I was talking earlier, and you guys can see that, here's the line right here, this curved line, and that matches this line right here. So the plan is to try to, you know, get that up there. I've got some magnets here to hold the paper up, and then we're going to, you know, work on getting this positioned exactly right before we cut the hole. But before we can do that, I need to get the dash out. So I need to finish pulling the radio out and get this dash out of the way. I think I've got it pretty much everything disconnected, so we can take some screws out and take this whole dash cluster out, and then start figuring out, you know, where we're going to cut this hole and get it right the first time without screwing up. Okay, I think I've got a game plan here. I removed the kick panel here, so it wasn't in the way. It's running right here, and I got a cut right around here. The dash is out, everything's clear out on the back, and I scaled these, and they scaled just a little small. Not a lot, just a little, and that's okay, because I'd rather cut the hole too small and sneak up on it and keep test fitting the part till it fits in there than have it go a little big and then me have to weld a patch panel on here and then repaint this whole dash. So it fits on here pretty good. Now I did take the Sharpie, a black Sharpie, and I marked these 2 reference lines. So this one is right here and this one is right here. So the way I'm going to do that is I've got a light back here, and I've got the light set just at the height of this line right here. And the reason you want to do that, if you have the light too high, your shadow line from this is going to be going at an angle. So you want to have it as close to parallel as possible, lined up with it. And then this line here too, the light should shine over to it. So let's hold that up there in this test and see how it's going to work. So that's just a magnetic light I've got sitting up there, LED light. So as you can see, now I can see the line, the shadow of the dash right here, and then I can see my black Sharpie line. So I'm just going to kind of get it up here with some magnets and just kind of hold it up here and then just start fine-tuning it by looking down that line right there. And actually that looks pretty good, but just with one magnet I can slide it up and down and then left to right. And here's that other line. You can see the shadow line right there. And when I pull this over, it goes right to it. So I think I need to come back just a little bit like that. And I can slide that paper back and forth. You guys can see that line coming and going. And so we're going to pull that around there like that. Put another magnet on it. And then obviously I've put 2 layers of blue tape on here, painter's tape, because I have to mark on this black paint and then I have to cut. So the tape will protect the paint and also give me a nice clean line to follow. And then when I'm running the burr tool and everything, if I happen to slip and it pops out of the hole, I don't want to bounce off the paint, right? So I think 2 layers of paint will do it. It's pretty thick, and I didn't want to get so thick that the magnets wouldn't stick. So right there, we're looking pretty good, but it appears to be too low right here. But if I take a screwdriver and I kind of just place it in here and run it, I can kind of feel that feels about right. Now, if you're off just a little bit, I don't think it's going to be that critical, but you certainly want to get, these, dimensions proper. You want to be on the correct axis on these. So then, and this dash goes at a little bit of an angle, and that angle lines up pretty nicely with that shadow line. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think it needs to come up just a little bit. About like that. And we'll pull it tight. Just like that. And actually that looks a lot better. So I'm going to fiddle with this a little bit until I'm feeling really comfortable. And I'll just keep sticking magnets on here and try to hold it to the shape. And you can see that paper, I've been fiddling with it a little bit off camera. But you can see that paper is taking the shape pretty well of this opening. So now I can fairly confidently, take the Sharpie. We're not going to be cutting that hole out because remember, I cut it so I could slide that part in there and then test it. But this cut line is just going to go all the way around there like that. Up here, now this is the tab to hold the screw. That actually gets bent up inside there a little bit. And then we'll drill the hole and, for a sheet metal screw. And then it's going to come back around here. So this distance from this little radius corner looks good to here. According to the pictures, but I'm going to hold them all up here and really kind of stare at this thing for a good 10 minutes before I mark any lines and we drill a hole and start cutting. So let me fiddle with this a little bit more and I'll bring you back. Okay, I've got it all marked. I'm fairly confident that I got it accurately marked. So here's the picture that I showed earlier, and I've been looking at this. Now here's the radius right there, and this distance looks correct. The height from the base right here to here looks pretty good. So, and then down here at the bottom where it rolls over, that looks good. And here is the edge of the dash right here. And if we look right here, that kind of lays right down in there too. So it kind of, when you look at it straight on with the hole, it's kind of a pear shape. So, and I think we're pretty good here. And now, like I said, I think we're too small, and that's perfectly fine with me. I'd rather, have to grind away. It's a lot easier to remove than to add. So the first steps, I'm going to get a drill bit. The size of these are kind of radiused right here, so I'm just going to drill those so I can cut a straight line up to those and not have to try to turn the corner. So we're going to drill a hole there and there just to get us started, and then drill a hole near the edge. And then get the saw in here and try to saw this out and not screw it up. So let me grab some tools and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I got the holes drilled. I got a 1/4 inch at the top of this one. It fit pretty good. A little low, but I can file and sneak up on that. And then this one was a little smaller, so I drilled a 7/32. And then a 1/4 inch over here just to get the saw started right there. And I'm just using the Harbor Freight, reciprocating saw here with a fine blade in it. And the little foot or shoe what I did was I pulled it off and I took a piece of vacuum line and put a little drop of oil in it and kind of threaded it around there so it'd slide on. And that way, because this little chrome rod could wear through that tape really quickly, you know, without me noticing, because it's going to be vibrating. So I just put that on there. It may make it so it doesn't slide so good, but the way it's vibrating, I think it'll just kind of bounce around there. So let's just go ahead and get cutting, I guess. It ain't going to do it unless I do it. So I'm just going to start and go up a little bit and just go up to this hole right here, and then kind of go around, and then we'll probably drill a hole here and here and connect the dots. All right, wish me luck. Easy. I'm gonna scratch the paint. Okay, that was the hard part, I think. So now if we do is cut down there and there and connect those. So probably should have drilled the hole before I got this all weak, but I'll drill a hole right here so I can cut straight across. Or I might be able to just turn off of this one, but let's go ahead and get this cut right here, and then we'll connect the dots. All right, there it's out. In hindsight, I probably should have done this little detail work first and then cut that. So on the passenger side, that's what we'll do. We'll get this cut, and then all we have to do is cut around and not have to hold it. So, okay, there's the hole. Let me grab the part. We'll see if it's going to fit. Okay, we got the part, and we got our hole cut, and I'm going to hold it up there, and it don't fit. It's a little too narrow across here. I can actually see some of my black Sharpie line right here and a little bit over here. So I need to fatten this up just a little bit. Now, it's you can't get carried away. I bet you there's not a 330 seconds right here lip. You know, so this slides in, and you got 330 seconds of wiggle room to cover your cut. So you have to take your time and go really, really slow to get this right. I can't believe they didn't put a bigger flange on here. But, you know, these were stamped out, so they made this part to fit exactly. And there's certainly plenty of room over here. They could have had the flange a little bit bigger, but they didn't, so that's what we have to live with. So holding it up here, though, it looks good. If I sight down the plane, I don't see any, you know, holes or anything, so I have room to keep removed material. And it's just basically find out where it's not clearing, trim it, keep moving it up there, keep getting closer and closer and closer until it fits in, slides in properly. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was just going to sand this little knob off, this little spot right here where the knob went for the control valve in the back, because we didn't need it. But holding it up here, I just had a thought, why don't I just leave this and cut the little circle right there so this will slide in, and then just put a fake knob on there. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. Probably, I was just thinking maybe a chrome door lock knob. Just cut it down a little shorter, put a screw through the back, screw that together. This will be painted black. The little ball deflector will be chrome, and I think that'll look really nice up in there. So I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and get my template back up here and mark that out, get that drilled out and cut out, and then we're just going to start sneaking up on this thing little by little. So I'll bring you back as I go. I'm not going to bore you with all that. It's just me with a burr tool, you know, slowly grinding away at the sheet metal, and then test fitting this thing probably 1,000 times before it's bedded in there and set right. So I'm going to get to that, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, I've made some really good progress. I opened up this side and got it a little more round. And so what happened was, as soon as I could get this slid up there and I could see, because I kind of held it up there and took the Sharpie and marked this radius here, and then I got that to slide up. And once I got it to slide in a little bit, then I just took a Sharpie on the inside and I marked it like that and marked the tape. And then I got that side, and I just kept checking and going really slow with the burr tool, and I got it to slide in. So it's looking pretty good right there. It won't slide in all the way, but it's getting close. I still have right where this little button thing, I've got to open that up a little bit more. But as you can see, it's looking pretty good right now. So, you know, I'm kind of relieved, to tell you the truth. So this line around, this gap around the backside feels really good right where it rolls over, because this dash panel right here kind of rolls. There's a little hump right there, and this has to slide right into it. Hopefully I nailed the height just right. I think I did. And I've got a little bit of wiggle room top to bottom, so if I need to go one way or the other, I might be able to carve a little more sheet metal away and slide it down, as long as I don't go so far as the, you know, the whole shows on top. But so right now I'm going to take a file. This is kind of really forced in here. Kind of leave some plastic behind every time I pull it in and out. So I'm going to take a file, and I'm going to file this back lip here, because I kind of use the burr tool at, you know, perpendicular to the sheet metal, and that way I could cut it real nice. And then so I'm just going to use the file and take, there's some lumps in here. The burr tool is only, you know, that's you know, what, 1/2 inch diameter. So you know, if it was large, then you would get a much smoother radius on here, but since it's so small, it's real easy to leave it lumpy. So I'm going to file this and file this side a little bit till it slides in pretty easy, just where I have to barely force it in. And then I'll bring you back and we'll see what we're going to do on these little details right here to get that slid in perfect. But it's looking really good so far. I hope the passenger side goes just as good. Okay, I got you a little tighter here. So I've been working this hole for the little button or the knob, and got that, I think. So we push it in, and it's looking pretty good. And honestly, I think I could have been a little bit lower overall. I'm a little concerned about this little curve right here matching the dash perfectly. And really, I don't know if these are right. I don't even know how these looked brand new, you know, 1965 with AC. You know, the fit and finish back then in the 60s, it wasn't like it is today. So these may not even have fit that well. And if this is a perfect reproduction, it may not even bolt up perfectly. So, but we're getting really close. The gap all the way around is looking really good. Where I have to actually, we're at the point now where I have to bend this tab. That's the screw tab right there. I need to bend that up so this will slide in all the way, and it should bend at a slight angle. So this will kind of go right up to it. So I'm just going to grab a pair of pliers, and I'm just going to slowly bend that up, and then I'll look at the pictures and figure out where the bend starts. And I'll just slowly bend that, test fit it, bend it, test fit it, and see where we'll land. Okay guys, I got it fit really nice. It's really nice across the top and along the side here. Right here there's a little bit of a gap, but like I said earlier, I don't know if they fit perfectly right there anyways, or possibly I got it just a little high. It does roll off right here, so this whole thing may need to go down 1/8 inch or 3/16 of an inch to get that to match perfectly. But I can't do anything about that now. I think it looks great. Once the kick panel's pushed on, it kind of sticks out here. I don't think you can even see that, but you know, it is what it is. If you ever have trouble getting plastic pieces to fit right, whether in this case maybe I got the hole a little too high, you can always just warm them in an oven. You got to be careful, and you warm them up and get them nice and warm till they get a little pliable, and then you know, just put a pair of gloves on. Get back out to the car, stuff it into place, whatever it is, and just hold hard pressure on it until it cools. Have somebody blow compressed air on it. It'll cool, the plastic will get stiff again, and then that part will be custom molded right to, you know, whatever you're doing. So let me bring you in tight. We'll take a look at all the lines and see how I did. Okay, you guys pretty much saw that side. Now this is really tight along there. Bumping the camera and everything. This is kind of a crucial curve right here where it comes around. You can see that's fitting in there really tight. Coming down here, it looks really good. And down here, when these screws go in, that'll hold that in there really tight. There's a shadow on it right now. But little spot right here may show. But I can fill that and put a little black paint on there, and you'll never know. But yeah, when this pushes in there real tight, it's going to look really good. Let me take the tape off, and we'll finish this thing off. Okay, all done. Looks really good. Once the screws pull it in there tight, it's going to fit perfect. I think it could have went down just a little bit more. In fact, I'm sure of it, but it fits in there really nice. It looks really good. It's going to look really nice in factory when it's all done. So I did have a little spot right here where I screwed up, and just the edge of the sheet metal showing. So I think what I'm going to do is just take some epoxy and add on to here. See how that little ear sticks out right there? I'll probably just fill that in right there, sand it smooth. These have to be painted, so it doesn't really matter, and that'll cover up my little mistake right there, and then it won't be a problem. So, but all in all, I think it looks great, and really fortunate to be able to buy these and fit them in here. So the passenger side, I'm going to use everything I learned on this one, and that one should go a lot smoother. But driver's side's done. I'm going to knock out the passenger side off camera, and these two, that two hardest part on this whole project, will be done. Okay, I wanted to give you guys some critical measurements that I didn't have, so just in case you try to do this, you'll know where to start to place this on these two axes. It's kind of hard to use these lines because everything's round and you don't know if it was painted straight or if it was at an angle or whatever. So on the side right here, and this is where the kick panel slides in, this sheet metal rolls and then it bends and it goes parallel with the car. So there's a little corner right there. And so that corner to the edge right here comes out to, and if you measure it straight like this, not at an angle, it comes out at just right at 1/4 of an inch. So from there to there, there's 1/4 inch. And then along the bottom of the dash right here, there's a little indentation on both sides for the vent control in the kick panel. Now that measures from the bottom to right here on your cut. That measures out at, and that's just straight, not laying down. That's straight in. And that measures out at just a little, not quite 9/16. So just a little bit above a 1/2 inch. So if you went 9/16 and maybe ground down to it, you'd be perfect. So even a little bit bigger, you could even go, 5/8. And then just grind down to it. But it's going to get you started on where to put this thing, this way. Now, of course, you still got the twist factor, right? And that's where these lines come in really handy to make sure that you're running parallel. And I'll tell you, it pretty much seems like if you print these papers out, he laid it up against the bottom of the dash here, and that's what's, holding it. So, and these measurements hold true on both sides. So on the driver's side, it's a 1/4 inch right here, and then it's 5/8, 9/16 right here, and that'll get you started. And then, and then if you use the paper on the bottom here, that'll get you your angle this way, your twist. But I just want to give you guys some critical measurements. It helped me a lot having the other side done. Now the other side ended up a little higher because I didn't know which, how high up. I mean, 1/16, 1/8 of an inch where this thing goes at an angle, it makes all the difference. And the last thing I would do if you guys are going to attempt doing this is this little notch right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Do not put this in right here. Don't put that in until you've got this slid in. So just make the circle go around and just skip that part. And then if you want to use that, I had originally planned on cutting that off. I'm not now. But what you want to do is you want to get this to slide in. It's very hard to locate that. So you want to get it to slide in, and then you can get it the twist you want, so it's laying good, and then take a marker and mark it back there, and then you can drill that hole. That's a lot safer way of doing it than cutting it first, because that's a little tricky thing, man. That angle really changes as you go in, and just a little bit of a turn will expose your cut, like I had the problem on the other side. So I hope that helps you. 1/4 inch here, let's say 5/8 right there, and then you just trim around to it. And you can tell that hole's not perfectly round, but everything gets covered up, or perfectly smooth, but everything gets covered up really nice, and looks nice when it's all done. So I hope that helps. I know a lot of guys out there would like to put factory looking AC vents in their 65, El Camino, Chevelles, whatever, and this is a good way to do it, and those are your critical measurements. Okay, that just about wraps up this project for the day. We got the vent in, looks really great. What have you guys been working on? Send me some pics. Get out there in the shop, garage, front yard, I don't care where you're working, what you're building, what you're doing. Send me some pics, what you guys got going on. I'd love to post them at the end of the video. So the vent went in. It took me 3.5 hours to get that in, you know, straight up. And I just took my time, took a little planning, a little game plan to come up with. And really, I don't know how I could have done it without these templates. You know, it's really fortunate that guy was nice enough to, you know, take the time to make these and post them on that forum, and I stumbled across them. So, you know, that's really what it's about with, you know, car people. Just, you know, stick together, help each other out, and help each other get these projects done instead of sitting in the garage for, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 years or whatever. So I'm really happy to get this part done. Hopefully the passenger side goes a little faster and easier. And then the two tough parts on this project will be totally done. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and mash that bell icon so you get notifications every time I release a new video. We'll see you on the next one.